So Matt Rempe was officially suspended yesterday, Sunday, by the Department of Player Safety for 8 games. This is the play, if you missed it on Friday night against the Rangers, where he got caught. They actually suspended him for 2 offenses, elbowing and boarding. So we put together a little still image collage so you can walk it through it. And Luds, we'd love to have your. This is the dump in that started this play. Okay, the puck gets rimmed down the near boards. Okay, go ahead, John. It goes behind the net. You can see that Ottinger goes to try to slow it down. I don't know if he actually gets a piece of it. It came pretty hard around the wall. And look, go back one real quick there, John. I did this one to show you. Look at where Rempe is. Look at where Miro is. Okay, that's the distance. Okay.
About the time Rempe starts speeding up.
You can see that some of my still shots also got the QuickTime player controls in the bottom, so just ignore that. I didn't realize that until just now. So there he is. So Luddy, as Rempe's chasing this right now, before we get to the hit, what should he be doing differently than what he did on this angle as he hunts Heiskanen on the forecheck? Anything?
Everything that he did should be different.
Okay.
Right now, being what you would generally do is you would almost, as you're coming to Miro, you would be going to your left right now and trying to make sure that Miro is below you, and hopefully the puck doesn't get put out of the zone. Or you know what you do is you go in this situation, what you have to do, he's got to take his stick, and he leads with your stick, and you get it out in front. You kind of wrap it around him. You get it tied up on the boards, and you take him. So you're using your stick and your hand as like a lasso. And then your body goes on the other side, and you just say, Miro, you're done.
So you're trying to control
That's
him.
all you're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a stupid play.
Trying to have an impact on the play,
Speaking of impact on the next frame,
look how far he is from the boards.
There's the hit. Okay, now I got the next sequences from the other 2 angles that we had on replay. Okay, so here it is from this angle where you can see the contact.
Can you see? Is it hard to see Miro's number right there, do you think?
And look
I
at
know
that.
He's tall, but maybe he doesn't see it down
Look
there.
at the reflection of the lights as the glass bows.
What is he, 6 what?
6'9".
And he still has to leave his feet.
Yeah, I was about to say,
look at that.
not only boarding, look at his skates.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's from that angle. Now, the worst one, the most incriminating is, if that's not bad enough, is this one. Here's Miro going to play the puck. Look, he never alters his positioning. He tries to play it up the near boards.
Oh, yeah.
And there it is right there. That's the moment. It's the elbow up in the neck and then drives him into the boards.
Brutal.
And then look at the boards cave in because thankfully they have some give, because if they were stiffer, he would have been much more hurt. And then he goes down and just collapses him to the ice. Thankfully, Miro gets up.
I mean, there's so many things we can dive into here, but the number one thing that I noticed with Rempe watching him all game is he did this multiple times where he went full speed from blue line in and made a hit,
Look
which
at where
is
his
like the
feet are
number
on that.
one thing
Go back one, John,
of
on
charging.
that.
So he
One more.
could have got
Right
charging
there.
on top of it.
So
Look at that. That's the moment of full
with that,
impact.
what you just said.
Skates
Sam,
off.
And with the reputation that he had coming into this game, everybody knows who he is, what he does, how he
He's been
plays.
suspended already in his career.
And I'm not blaming Miro, but you can go back about 4 frames. You never see Miro's head turn around and look to see where he is. I don't understand that. You never try. I don't care if it's a good player. An average guy that kind of hits. You don't just try. You know what it reminds me of? I'll be totally honest with you. So I think this started in Canada. And for the young kids, remember when they put the stop sign on the back of the jerseys?
Yes.
Okay. Well, all of a sudden kids are thinking, well, I got a stop sign back here, so I'm not going to get hit. There's always one clown on every team you're going to play against, and you have to learn. Brent Severn, or I should say Alan May. Alan May and I, years ago, we did hockey camps, and it was about a checking camp. But 3/4 of it was how to take a hit,
Yes.
how to protect
Very
yourself
important.
on the wall, get your hands up, all this stuff. But the thing is, you never trust anybody that they're going to do the right thing. The stop signs then were like, well, he can't hit me. Well, there's always going to be that big stumbly kid that accidentally hits you and you don't know how to protect yourself on the wall.
Or the idiot that does it.
Big stumbly kid.
Or no, I don't even think that's lack of control.
I don't want to sound like I'm blaming Miro, but you still have to know who you're playing against. Yeah. Miro knew that he was on the ice. Miro knows that he's a meathead, and he does dumb things. And you have to protect yourself and against guys like this.
The only time I did see Miro looking was I think it was the first frame that you showed. He's turning, not the first when Ottinger has it.
There's one after
Any
this.
frame
right
here.
there. He
So
glances.
But is
Okay,
he
so
looking at Rempe?
No.
Or
I
No,
think-
he's looking for an out.
See, I think
It's where he's putting the puck.
I think he's aware that Rempe's there, but maybe is that
How
a
many
naive,
times have you seen Miro go to the wall, and that guy is where I'm saying he would be above him to his
Yes.
left, where Miro stops and turns
Goes the other
down.
way. That's what I thought Miro was going to do.
He wants to see if he's more to his left. Then what he'll do is he'll tight turn to his right, and he knows he's like a cement truck coming in there, right? He's not going to be able to tight
and
turn.
wouldn't ordinarily, as you talk about lassoing and just sort of pinning a guy to the
Yeah.
boards, don't you think Miro's almost anticipating that, saying he's going to try to pin me? So
No,
I'll take the hit
it's
and I'll
Rempe.
just
He's not. You shouldn't anticipate. That's my point.
right. But don't
You
you
have
think
to know who you're playing against.
you wonder if that's what's going in his head of I will absorb that, thinking he's not going to get checked to the back of the neck and just bump it. I know, and then he's in control.
Yeah, I just think
You're
that
saying that's a mistake to think that.
Well, first off, he's 6'9". If anything's going to hit you in the back of the neck, it might be his belt buckle. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you don't expect a guy that big that's going to bend down to hit you legally. He's going to foul through. And again, you got to know who you're playing against. But like I said, I don't want to blame Miro on this, but you just at times you have to be aware of your surroundings.
And the crazy thing with Rempe is he was just called up for that game. He hadn't
Well,
played,
it was his
he hadn't
first
played in
game
the
up
NHL
after being sent down for a bit,
in a
yeah.
while, and I think he had a 5-minute game or 5-minute major earlier. I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was for in the season.
I think he got 8 games for that.
I believe it's the fourth time he's gotten a game misconduct in
He's
22 games.
He's only played like 20 some games.
Well, I will say one thing. He was thrown in a tough spot. He came in the league and he got in those fights, and everybody loved him for it, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what,
he's
are,
very
what, are you,
popular
what are you
in New
thinking
York
as
City.
a player? This is how I'm going to make a career, right? So that's when he comes on. That's what he goes for. It's
Yes,
just
but-
out of control.
But
It can't
Luddy,
be
you
out of
talked
control.
about this when Toronto was in town. Ryan Reeves is not a dirty player, right? He gets suspended for that check to Darnell Nurse.
Ryan Reeves will never hit you like that.
That's the point. You can be a tough physical
Yeah.
presence
Yep.
and not be dirty.
Yeah. And
You
that's-
don't have to do
need
that,
to be in
especially
control.
if you're 6'9".
In
I
control.
just don't. I honestly don't think. I'm using that word very loosely. I don't think he thinks. I don't. I don't think
Meaning
he's
you don't think he's
aware
intentionally
of what. I don't even think that's intentional. I don't think he's going in there to hurt Miro. I just don't think he thinks.
he's just going to try to make a play. And
Out of
What he's
control.
doing.
The
I'm going to
thing is,
finish my check.
there were some moments prior to his ejection where he was kind of an impact. He had one scoring chance. He got in on Leon Bichel
Drew
a
a
couple
penalty.
of times, drew a penalty. I think if he could either think or control how he checks guys and the angles, he could be a pretty effective player.
It'll be interesting to find out if this is his. This is it for him.
Do you think this is the wake up call?
Oh, I don't know why the last suspension of 8 isn't
Right.
a wake up call.
It's just what the Rangers need.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
okay,
Like,
so
more of
that's
this
that's
stuff.
my next question. 8 games, is that enough for you, Sam?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it was. I knew immediately. I thought it was above 5. You don't see a ton of more than that, right? I'm trying to think if anyone has more suspension games this season than 8. I don't know if off the top of my head if there's anybody. So I think 8's a good number.
There's
Real,
been more.
yeah. The real
Yeah,
question
remember
is,
the Tom Wilson on Oscar Sundqvist?
what was it? Do you remember?
10, I
It was
think.
10.
And
So
he
10
cleaned him out
10
open ice.
Here's the thing. I think
to the head.
if you had said 10, 12, I don't think anybody's complaining about it. So 8's probably good. I wonder with Luds if 8 games is just the most he's suspended, and then we don't see him in the NHL for a little while.
It's going to
anyway.
be tough for him to play the way he needs to play now to stay part of the team or part of a team, because I mean, if he actually starts to think, he may start going. He doesn't become dangerous to play. I don't want to say effective. And if he's not doing that, honestly, if he's not doing that, he probably doesn't arrive on time. And so he may be one of those kind of guys that get caught in between. But who knows? He may come out the first game because I just can't see him calling him up again. That's me. I don't know.
So he has to stay on the NHL roster during his suspension. So that's a roster spot of the 23 active that the Rangers have to. They can't send him down during a suspension. They can send him down afterwards. I thought it was interesting that 8 games was the number because the 8th game of his suspension is when the Dallas Stars play
February.
in January.
or January. Yeah.
January 7th at Madison Square Garden, the other half of the 2-game season series with the Rangers. Would you have
Merry
rather?
Christmas, guys.
I heard this today listening to another show talking about 30 years ago, maybe it's a 7-game suspension because then Dallas gets a chance to respond on the ice themselves. But I think in today's NHL, that's not something they're interested in. If anything, having Rempe suspended for
Wait,
that.
What? You thought they were going to give him a shorter game
No,
so
no,
that
no,
they
no,
could
no,
get
no,
back
no.
to
Back
him?
in the day.
No, I heard somebody saying today that they thought that maybe 30 years ago it could have been like, hey, let him be available so Dallas gets their first crack at it.
I like that.
That's not the way the NHL does it
No.
now. If anything, I think it's a real benefit to Dallas in one sense that the next time they play him, because a lot of times a guy does something against one team and then he misses games against another team. It doesn't have that same equivalency.
The best way for the Dallas team to get back at him was at the moment and score 3 goals on their 5-minute
Yeah.
major.
Ugh.
Yeah.